Cobb regarded baseball as something like a war. Future Tiger second baseman Charlie Gehringer said, "Every time at bat for him was a crusade." Baseball historian John Thorne said in the book Legends of the Fall, he is testament to how far you can get simply through will. Cobb was pursued by demons. Cobb was having a tremendous year in 1911, which included a 40-game hitting streak. Still, shoeless, Joe Jackson led him by .009 points in the batting race late in the season. Near the end of the season, Cobb's Tigers had a long series against Jackson's Cleveland Naps. Fellow Southerners Cobb and Jackson were personally friendly both on and off the field. Cobb used that friendship to his advantage. Cobb ignored Jackson when Jackson tried to say anything to him. When Jackson persisted, Cobb snapped angrily back at him, making him wonder what he could have done to enrage Cobb. Cobb felt that it was these mind games that caused Jackson to fall off to a final average of 408, 12 points lower than Cobb's 420, a 20th century record which stood until George Sisler tied it and Rogers Hornsby surpassed it with 424, the record since then except for Hugh Duffy's 438 in the 19th century. Cobb led the AL that year in numerous other categories, including 248 hits, 147 runs scored, 127 RBIs, 83 stolen bases, 47 doubles, 24 triples and a .621 slugging percentage. Cobb hit 8 home runs but finished second in that category to Frank Baker, who hit 11. He was awarded another Chalmers car, this time for being voted the AL MVP by the Baseball Writers Association of America. On May 12, 1911, playing against the New York Highlanders, he scored from first base on a single to right field, then scored another run from second base on a wild pitch. In the 7th inning, he tied the game with a 2-run double. The Highlanders catcher vehemently argued the safe call at second base with the umpire in question, going on at such length that the other Highlanders infielders gathered nearby to watch. Realizing that no one on the Highlanders had called time, Cobb strolled unobserved to third base, and then casually walked towards home plate as if to get a better view of the argument. He then suddenly broke into run and slid into home plate for the eventual winning run. It was performances like this that led Branch Rickey to say later that Cobb had brains in his feet. Describing his gunplay strategy in 1930, he said, "My system was all offense. I believed in putting up a mental hazard for the other fellow. If we were 5 or 6 runs ahead, I'd try some wild play, such as going from first to home on a single. This helped to make the other side hurry the play in a close game later on. I worked out all the angles I could think of, to keep them guessing and hurrying." In the same interview, Cobb talked about having noticed a throwing tendency of first baseman Hal Chase, but having to wait 2 full years until the opportunity came to exploit it. By unexpectedly altering his own base-running tendencies, he was able to surprise Chase and score the winning run of the game in question. On May 15, 1912, Cobb assaulted a heckler, Claude Lucker, in the stand in New York's Hilltop Park where the Tigers were playing the Highlanders. Lucker and Cobb had traded insults with each other through the first couple of innings. Cobb at one point went to the Highlander dugout to look for the Highlanders owner to try to have Lucker ejected from the game, but his search was in vain. The situation finally climaxed when Lucker allegedly called Cobb half-blank. Cobb, in his discussion of the incident in the Holmes biography, avoided such explicit words but alluded to Lucker's epithet by saying he was reflecting on my mother's color and morals. He went on to state that he warned Highlander manager Harry Wilverton that if something wasn't done about that man, there would be trouble. No action was taken. At the end of the 6th inning, after being challenged by teammates Sam Crawford and Jim Delahanty to do something about it, Cobb climbed into the stands and attacked Lucker, who it turned out was handicapped. He had lost all of one hand and 3 fingers on his other hand in an industrial accident. When onlookers shouted at him to stop because the man had no hands, he reportedly retorted, "I don't care if he got no feet." Though extremely rare in the 21st century, attacking fans was not so unusual an activity in the early years of baseball. Other notable baseball stars who assaulted heckling fans include Babe Ruth, Cy Young, Rube Waddell, Kid Gleason, Sherry McGee, and Fred Clark. The league suspended him, and his teammates, though not fond of Cobb, went on strike to protest the suspension and the lack of protection of players from abusive fans before the May 18th game in Philadelphia. For that one game, Detroit fielded a replacement team made up of hastily recruited college and Sandlot players plus 2 Tiger coaches and lost 24-2, thereby setting some of Major League Baseball's modern era negative records, notably the 26 hits in a 9-inning game allowed by Alan Travers, who pitched one of the sport's most unlikely complete games. The pre-1901 record for the most hits and runs given up in a game is held by the Cleveland Blues' Dave Rowe. Primarily an outfielder, Rowe pitched a complete game on July 24, 1882, giving up 35 runs on 29 hits. The current post-1900 record for most hits in a 9-inning game is 31, set in 1992 by the Milwaukee Brewers against Toronto. However, the Blue Jays used 6 pitchers. The strike ended when Cobb urged his teammates to return to the field. According to him, this incident led to the formation of a players' union, the Ball Players' Fraternity, an early version of what is now called the Major League Baseball Players Association, which garnered some concessions from the owners. During his career, Cobb was involved in numerous other fights, both on and off the field, and several profanity-laced shouting matches. For example, Cobb and umpire Billy Evans arranged to settle their in-game differences through fisticuffs under the grandstand after the game. Members of both teams were spectators, and broke up the scuffle after Cobb had knocked Evans down, pinned him and began choking him. In 1909, Cobb was arrested for assault for an incident that occurred in a Cleveland hotel. Cobb got into an argument with the elevator operator around 2:15 a.m. when the man refused to take him to the floor where some of his teammates were having a card game. The elevator operator stated that he could only take Cobb to the floor where his room was. As the argument escalated, a night watchman approached and he and Cobb eventually got into a physical confrontation. During the fight, Cobb produced a penknife and slashed the watchman across the hand. Cobb later claimed that the watchman, who had the upper hand in the fight, had his finger in Cobb's left eye and that Cobb was worried he was going to have his sight ruined. The fight finally ended when the watchman produced a gun and struck Cobb several times in the head, knocking him out. Cobb would later plead guilty to simple assault and pay a $100 fine. This incident has often been retold with the elevator operator and the watchman both being black. However, recent scholarship has shown that all parties involved were white. In 1913, Cobb signed a contract worth $12,000 for the 6-month season, making him likely the first baseball player in history to be paid a 5-figure salary.